I'm such in a beautiful place now because of all that's transpired. I mean, I know we've not really jokingly, but we've been saying, you know, things are moving at light speed, and
Truly,
or warp
indeed.
speed, or however you want to
Yep,
characterize it.
indeed.
Yeah, and it's funny, but Spirit reminded me that when I was a kid, I had this I guess he was probably my best friend at the time, but right down the street, he lived like 4 houses down. And they had this big, beautiful oak tree in the front yard that had ivy growing up the side of it. And it was just all over the ground around it, about, 6, 7 feet out of it. And I just thought that was the most inviting thing in the world. And I literally asked my friend's mother if I could just lay in the grass.
Oh,
And she said, yeah. And so I went there several times and just lay there and looked up at the sky. And somehow I knew I was connected to everything above me. And I would daydream about being a dad and about going off into my life. And I was probably 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there. And I knew I had my whole life ahead of me, but somehow I knew it was going to all be okay. It was all going to be
that's so
okay.
good. At 8 years old.
Yeah. And I just, but the amazing thing was, I look back on it and now I knew that I was actually connecting with Source Creator,
Yes. Yeah.
as only a child can. And
Right.
there was a purity there without having to define it. I didn't look up and call out to God or anything like that. And but I just knew that I was a part of everything I was experiencing in that moment. And just laying in a little bit of ivy and grass and just enjoying a perfect day. The sky was so blue then too, by the way.
Oh, I
It was
know.
I
I know.
remember how
I
it
miss
was.
those
It was
blue skies. I would be mesmerized by it. I would
it
be
was
laying in the front yard in the grass in the clover patches because they were a little
okay.
softer. And I'd be looking up at the
Yeah.
clouds, just going, looking at the animal shapes and just the marvel of how blue the sky was.
Yeah,
And then the
absolutely.
contrast between the blue sky and the white clouds, it was so beauty, such great beauty.
Yep. Well, something that I struggled with, just this is kind of off the cuff, but because it just happened the other day. I just asked Spirit, I said, I don't understand why I keep struggling with this word God. Why is it such a big deal to me? And I said, it's like, I feel like every time I use it, I'm like completely boxing in something that can't be measured, something that has no defining, no boundaries, no anything. And I keep telling people, well, I mean, I of course I use the term with, because that's where they're at, and all that.
Right,
But
right.
the Spirit, she just said, just rest, don't, just calm down. It's not all that. And I was like, well, then what is it? And she said,
Right.
well, do you remember when Ishu said, the disciple came to him and had some questions for him, and kind of like, I can totally see it where he like puts his hand on Ishu's shoulder, and because he wants to ask a question of him, and he's like, what? And he says, good master, can you tell me? And he's like, wait, what'd you say?
Right.
Why did you just call me good? And I was like, yeah, I remember that. And he said, there is none good but one. The one is good. And so, and then Spirit says, do you see it? And I'm like, see what? Um, God is not a name or a title. It's an attribute. It's good. You can literally go through the entire Bible and replace God with good. The good. And I was like, that's so simple. Yeah, I see that now. So
Well, you want to know something that let's just talk about a little bit of play on words on this because I totally get this. Oh my gosh. So as you're talking, I'm like, okay, so what's the Hebrew word? What would be a transliteration of the word God and good? Let's like transliterate it back into Hebrew. Now, this is, wow. So you, through spirit, are reframing the essence of the word as it's coming out of your mouth that we use as God and good. When we look at the root of that in a transliteration sense, it means to evade and to attack.
oh,
Now, to evade and
okay.
attack, but then it moves into the word that means, oh, this is incredible because this is even connecting to something Ken was talking about the gava and the gavel. This is so amazing. So when we look at the word from invade and attack, when we trace that back, it actually comes to the place that means not only to overcome, but it means good fortune. And it's from the Aramaic word gada, God ah. So we change it into being a good fortune, something, a fortune, a prize, the essence of who we are, and it's the
Well,
Gimel Dalet.
there's a
So
reason for that.
yeah, go for it.
Well, the reason for that, and this is what Spirit reminded me of the other day. She said, do you remember that there is no word in Aramaic for good? There isn't one. In other words,
It would be
and I was like,
blessed, right? Blessed or to be blessed.
right, but it's not the same thing. Not the way that we use it in our culture. Okay. Um, you remember in the Hebrew roots movement, you remember how they were starting to really define, cross-pollinate words with Hebrew, people who weren't actually Jewish or whatever you want to say. So they were trying to connect all these ideas, and that was a big part of the Hebrew roots movement. And so basically what it was they're trying to combine cultural viewpoints. And in that, the word blessed, they started talking about how that was not a good thing. It was be less, or all this
No, I do.
ridiculous stuff.
Because they were inverting everything.
Yes. Yes.
For comparisons. And I know this well because I was there.
Yeah. And but somehow they couldn't, I never heard anybody address the word good on this level. And but I also asked Spirit, I said, well, yeah, so there's no Aramaic derivation for it. So what are you trying to say? And she says, you don't see it? Good exists because of source creator, not the other way around. Yeah, it's like seeing it's like seeing or it's like I'm looking at you, and I see, I want to say you're beautiful. Well, beauty is not because you're beautiful. You see what I'm saying?
I
I put
do. I do.
the attribute onto you. You see?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's what we're
Yes.
doing with source creator, is we're saying
Yes.
he's good because he is.
Right.
It's
In other
just
words,
he
it's
is.
not exactly. It's emphasis on the is. It's us trying
Right.
to explain what
Yes.
source energy areta is in our limited frequency of language.
Right. Exactly.
Totally
Exactly.
comprehend that.
Yeah. So
And
then
so I
Spirit
can
says,
see why you had the issue with the word God then, because you're right. It
yeah.
is very limiting and it sticks it in a box and says,
Right.
this is my definition of what is, but how can you define the infinite?
Yeah. Because the word God comes from so many different directions in my past. the way I
Exactly.
used to think, you see?
Yes, I
So I'm
do.
constricting my understanding of Oretta, of
Mhm.
the way of who source creator actually is to me, when all I have to really do is just feel that. I don't need to get it in my head. So
No,
whenever
and you know what?
you call,
You're
instead of
limiting
saying
yourself.
God and you say good, right, right.
You're totally
So
limiting
when you
yourself.
address it as I love you good, when you say that, it's a whole different frequency. I love you good. It just changes the whole dynamic of it.
I
And you're
love
not
that.
you're not you're not sticking a title or or addressing it's God. No, it's not. It's the all. It's the one who cannot be bound by your limited thinking.
That's
And
so
you're just
good.
embracing that.
I just
You see?
said, that's so good.
See what I'm saying? And you're so right.
Oh
So every time you
my
say that now, you're saying God is so good.
gosh. Right, right. I mean, truly,
And
truly,
so it's so
truly.
yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, there it is! I did it again! Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I didn't
See,
mean to
this
start
is
something.
no,
But
this is good because this is like the beautiful side of childlike faith, right? So you say something, you catch
yeah.
yourself saying it, and then all of a sudden it reframes everything up here and goes straight to the heart, and then you can't help but to express joy. It's like, oh my gosh. And so I'm going to be catching myself doing that a lot because I do say that. I say that all the time. That is so good. And so now
Yeah.
I'm taking that word now and it means something completely different.
Because
So
you're
in other
saying
words,
that is
it's of God. It's of the unseen. It's of the
you're
essence of
you're
what is.
saying that is so God.
Exactly. So generally when I will
I
do that is like if I'm commenting on somebody's post or somebody leaves a message that is just beautifully crafted after watching a video, or Facebook post, and I'll say that is so good. Now I know what I'm truly saying.
yep. And it's the ultimate blessing to another when you say you are so good.
Ah,
You're saying you are so God.
you are
See?
yeah,
It's
you
a
are
whole
the
different
unique,
frequency.
you are the unique expression of the one
Yes.
infinite creator. You are good.
Yep.
Mm. And so Tebuta.
I just
Tebuta.
it just makes my heart light up when I think of these things. I just oh my gosh.
I'm
It
so
because
glad you
it
shared that.
redefines me. It redefines
Yes.
it's like when spirit shares these types of things with you, it's like I get a do-over on the day. I
Yes.
get a new fresh perspective
Ah,
and
yes. It lightens up the heart. And I say that intentionally.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's a wonderful way to start out my day.
Oh, sorry. Little glitch there.
It's all good. It's all good. Oh my
That's
gosh.
okay. No, I know I started
Oh,
something. I know.
oh no, but it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. I just said it again. Oh my goodness. All right. All right. It's all right. So I want to let you know before we move on to anything else. When I was, this is great. When I used to do, I was a nail
Okay.
professional, and I had a plaque. It kind of stood out three-dimensional from the wall that I hung over the table when I was doing nails, and it said, "It's all good." And there was something that was so profound at that time, and now it's like dot
Yeah.
connecting all the way back then, that every time somebody would come down and sit at the table, they would see that as it was declared over
Uh-huh.
them.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, it is indeed. Okay. Oh, I'm going to catch myself doing
Oh,
this. And if I
and,
start giggling, you'll know. You'll know. You'll go, yep, I started that fire.
you're gonna love this though. This is the best connection for that idea that we were just discussing, and that is go to Genesis. Who is not good until somebody shows up? Think of Adam. He called. Yeah, I mean, I know we know, you know what all the creation story actually kind of is referring to. There's all different ways to look at it, but just take it for the way that we read it. At the end of each day, he says it is good.
Yes, he
But
did.
then when he gets to Adam, he doesn't say it till when.
Well, it is not good for man to be alone.
It is not
It is not good.
God for man to.
That's right.
And so when Eve is present, when the feminine comes to bring life, it is good.
That's right. Ah, that is connecting the dot with the masculine and feminine energy have to be present to be good.
And it's first mentioned as far
Yes.
as the Adamic race is concerned.
Yes. Oh,
It's first mentioned.
oh, that's beautiful, Daryl. That's absolutely beautiful.
So,
Man, I've already had a morning of these incredible like nuggets of fire hose revelation, and you just it's like the cherry that just got put on top of this beautiful Sabbath day of a Sunday. Oh, saying that intentionally as well as Sun Day, the Shamesh, the new year. So
yeah.
anyway.
Well, now we're going to go the opposite direction, because I think this is a part of understanding that you need. The word Ayil, Hebrew word Ayil. It's actually not Hebrew.
Aleph Yod
It's
Lamed.
actually Sumerian.
Okay.
And Ayil.
Now, so help me here, because there's two that have very close, because of how we aren't used to speaking the dialect. As we try to speak it in English, it's either going to be the Aleph Yod Lamed or the Ain Yod Lamed, because I know both of those words. And so I'm not sure which one you're discussing. So I'll let you kind of unveil what it is, and then I think I'll figure out which one it is that you're discussing.
Actually, I just missed everything you just said because it blacked
Oh,
out on me.
so what I was going to
Okay.
say is that because of the transliteration into English to try to pronounce it, I'm not sure if you're saying Aleph Yod Lamed or Ein Yod Lamed, because I know both of those words. So I don't know which one you're referring to. So I'll just listen, and I'm sure I'll be able to connect.
Yeah. No, it's Aleph Yod Lamed.
Okay. So the root for God that we see in the scriptures, when you take it all the way down to the bottom end, you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. They when they teach you Hebrew, that it's Ayil is the word for God. Okay, that's the simplistic way of saying it.
Right.
But then
right.
when you say El without the
when
you
yod,
change the
right,
then it's a whole different thing. But
Yes.
Ayil is supposedly the word for God, but in actuality it's not. It actually comes from the Anunnaki. It literally means shining one. It
Of
does not mean
course.
God.
Of course it would.
Yes.
Of course. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
You're
Are you
getting it.
connecting this to Adam Qadmon, who they saw
Yes.
that chose to not come and enter into Adam? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Because Adam Qadmon was not their version of God. He was good.
This is so fantastic. This is so fantastic.
Now,
Oh, thank you,
now
Daryl.
this is something that I really wanted to describe to you, because it puts all of the narratives in a succinct package, if as it were, for lack of a better way of saying it, so that you can like not compartmentalize it all, but so that you can deal with it without having to deal with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
well, in other words, I would say this just a tad bit different, so we don't have to attach to it anymore.
exactly,
We just
exactly.
neutralize it. It's like, this is what is, this is what happened, and now we can just let
Right.
go of it.
You
We just
you
neutralize
get
it.
this, yes, because you see, we're the ones who are the ascended beings here. We're not, they need us. They're the
Right.
parasites on us because they
Right.
don't have what we have.
Right.
So, but that being said, everything that the archons have made, they are the architects of this last 6,000-7,000 years, whatever it is. Okay, these reptilian bodies are part of their DNA and part of
Right.
the earth and part of animals, and
Right.
it's a hodgepodge of stuff. And yes,
Right.
they're incredible. Don't get me wrong, they're incredible, but it's all temporary and it's not real because, as we've talked about before, matter is 99.999%
9999.
energy.
That's right.
And so it has nothing to do with what is truly reality or what is real. It is a temporary state. It's all in flux. It's all that stuff. Anyways, but what I want you to get out of this is that there's an ancient word, an artificer. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. It's actually, its point of origin is actually in the Sumerian texts. Okay. Whenever we read in the scripture, you will have no graven images of me. Of course, that's the fake Yaldabaoth, the Yahweh God. He just took that as a name in the masculine because that's what the Hebrew identified with. See, so he conned everybody by taking on that name, right? But that's a different story. So, anyways, so the concept of artificer comes from the Sumerian text, which means it's an artist that makes a simulation of that which is real. So it's artificial. You see?
Right. Right.
Okay.
I'm following you.
Well, this is the template for everything that is in this 3D realm. This is what we have to transcend. This is what we're supposed to recognize, come to recognize, so that we can see, not see, okay, but we see that which is true, that which is real, that which exists. And the only way you can do that is recognize that you are not the that's the God of the Old Testament made us in his image. You weren't made in source creator's image. If you're attaching to him, you are actually a fractal of him. You are him. You're not from an artificer. You see what I'm saying? This
Well,
is what they're trying.
Well, I was just
This is
going to
what they're
say,
trying to grab onto. Go ahead.
we have lag time. It just drives me nuts when we have lag time. I was just looking up Revelations chapter 18 because I'm breaking down a verse right now, and it reads, and so King James puts this, that, and the voice of the harpers and the musicians and the pipers and the trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman, no artificer of whatsoever craft he be shall be found anymore in thee.
Bingo. That's awesome. That is awesome. Thought of that.
So,
because what an artificer is doing is making a duplication. Well, that's exactly, and this is why I brought this up. This realm was actually made because of the real that the archons actually got a glimpse of. They know the way that, and this, but guess where this all starts? It starts with Urantia. Urantia was first mentioned for Earth. It was the first
Of course.
Earth.
Yes.
A million years ago.
And here, just case in point,
The
that
real
word, yes,
Jesus
because
Christ showed
that
up.
word,
Are you
Urantia, yes, I'm getting it.
follow me?
I am.
Oh wait, you froze.
Urantia,
So put
hopefully
you
you're
back.
hearing me, because I'm hearing you. The word Urantia has the
Yeah.
word or in front of it. Was a place of light.
Right.
Urantia,
Yeah.
Urantia is
Uh-huh.
an Aramaic / Chaldean name.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Because it would be Aleph, Resh, Nun, Tav, Yod, Aleph. And that is completely Aramaic, aka Chaldean, because Chaldean is older than Hebrew, because Hebrew got pulled out of it and separated and made itself 2 languages instead of keeping it as 1. So yes, absolutely.
Understood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Urantia is the first, is the template for what came after, because there's actually been 6, counting our present one, Earths. But this one is different from all the rest. This is final, as far as the end of the age, the end of the 3D realm. Okay, so there's Urantia, and then it goes to, I don't remember the order, but then it goes to terra firma was the next planet that called Earth. Then there was Gaia, okay? And then there was Gaia, I'm losing it anyways. But the last 2 was Earth 1 and then Earth 2, which is what this is. But this is not a planet. This is a plane, okay, with a dome over it. And space out there is actually more like water, okay? It's
The plasma
not
sea.
the vacuum. Yes, it's not the vacuum that NASA taught us, okay? Which is actually really ridiculous when you think about it. You watch Star Wars and they're all shooting each other with lasers, and there's these explosions, which if there's no air out there, how is that
There
possible?
couldn't be. That's right. That's
You
right.
know? Yeah, it's really, but it's all for special effects for the movie so they can make money, right? And everybody enjoys it. It's fun and all that, and that's fine. I ain't mad. But so the so you've got these succession, and they destroyed all of them. And you've read the book of Urantia, so you know how it's like the it's like the nonfiction story of nonfiction stories. It's like the most regal way that it could be told, because it's all these ascended beings contributing their part to it. And so it's just this incredible thing that there's no other book that's ever hit this earth like that. And it describes. And so that literally set precedence for everything after, but they destroyed that. They destroyed each one after it. And now it's come to this, because now Creator Source says, we're done with that. I want my people back.
Well, and here's part of that too, is that we are one with them. So in actuality, we destroyed. It's not, I mean, it's the us and them, because we see that right now, because our hearts aren't bent that way. You know, our hearts, because we are service to others, it's very easy for us to do the us and them. But I'm just saying that I need to own my role in it, and we did this. We did this. We destroyed. And so we had to be separated to go, wait a minute here. you are abusing your power so much, we have to cut you off from the galactic. You are not allowed anymore
Right.
because you keep creating mess after mess after mess. And when are my children going to grow up?
Right. Yeah, we're the Atlanteans that flipped from positive polarity to negative polarity,
Yes, we did.
got caught up basically believing our own legend. And ego came into the world on a level unparalleled.
So we all became
Yeah,
narcissists. We became all narcissists,
exactly.
and we loved the image of who we were, and we're like, yep, nope, I see it. I see it.
We stopped believing in the good and started believing in a God.
Oh
And
my
that
gosh,
God
Daryl.
was
Wow.
us. That God was us separate from the good.
Wow.
If that makes
Wow.
sense.
And no, it absolutely does. It absolutely does.
And so that started everything. And then, of course, some 500,000 years ago, Enki and Enlil make a mad dash to come to this place because it had already been so. Just we know from the Vedas and all these texts where it shows they had nuclear wars and they
Right.
just plasmically just, and then
Yep.
great electricity terraformed everything on the surface. And this was a whole different place. This is more like that movie, what, Pandora, or what's that movie called? Avatar, or whatever that
Right.
movie is.
Right.
And
Avatar.
yeah, yeah, Avatar. And so it was like that at one time. The trees were actually way bigger than even in that movie, you know. All of the buttes, they had the flat top mountains. That's just tree stumps. That's all it is.
Exactly.
And I know you
The
talked with
mesas.
Emery
The
about that.
the
Yeah, Emery,
mesas. Yep.
the mesas. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And so, matter of fact, the most famous one that was put right in our face was when they made the movie in the 80s,
Close
1982 or
Encounters
whatever it
of
was.
the Third Kind, and
Uh,
they
Close
showed Devil's
Encounters,
Tower.
Devil's Tower.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, it's the most
Yep.
famous one, right in everybody's face, and nobody got it. And that's even a small one. That's a small tree compared to what there were trees that were literally 10 miles in the sky, literally,
Well,
and
down
they were
in
if not
Colorado, they have
more.
the Grand Mesa, and it is huge. The Grand Mesa.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
massive.
yeah. Some of these tree stumps are literally 8-10 miles across at at the top of it. Just it's unbelievable what some of these things are. There's one in South America that they call that they believe was once the tree of life, and because it's so massive, and there's all these waterfalls coming out the sides of it, and it's just unbelievable, you know. And that's literally, and the reason they cut them down was because those trees literally fed everybody. You lived
Right.
off the tree. Whole
Right.
communities lived inside the trees, and they literally took care of the entire earth as we know
Right.
it.
Right.
And they couldn't have that, so they turned all this into a prison, into a zoo. They call it, the Anunnaki called it their zoo, and where there are critters running around that they can take advantage of, whatever. But here's the thing: we finally came around to understanding that narrative has only been a problem because we decided it was a problem, not because it was actually a problem. You know, everybody complains in America about, well, I don't want them taking my rights away and all that. Well, you gave your rights up from when you were born into this. You were born into a situation where you didn't actually have rights. You just didn't know it. So they're all referring to a piece of paper that is actually the best document that our world has ever produced in our time. You know, the Constitution is legit, but you've never because they changed it in 1871. They altered one word on it. They went from the Constitution for the United States of America to the Constitution of the United States of America. they formed the corporation, which is a dead entity, and they put us all in debt slavery. And then they formed the Federal Reserve, and then the rest is history, you know. And then we were debt slaves, and it's all to make them money. It's all because it's all a business for them. Everything is a business, even your own flesh. This is a business for them. And so but the crazy part is that the only way you can have freedom, is to go within, because it's the only place where freedom resides.
Absolutely.
And once you go within and discover who you are, then you simply invoke the one power you have on the external, which is the power to say no.
No.
And not just no, but hell no. I'm done.
That's right.
I asked Spirit one day, I said, and I know this is controversial and everybody's going to be like, oh my God, he's crazy, you know, but I know too much now. I know way too much now. And I'm not scared of this BS that's all around us all anymore. So a Spirit said, you in the past, you were always complaining about not having enough money and that you get taken advantage of, and you're taxed on everything. There's fees on everything, and there's blah, 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 blah. And you make it sound like your money is your source of life. Money is just a tool. It's not your life. It has nothing to do with your life, because there is no life in any of it. It's all dead. You're born. That's what we've been talking about, is we're born into death. This is our experience. We're experiencing death for the sake of resurrecting to what we already are.
I know,
life.
Right? Exactly.
You were high of life. You were born on the waters of your mother through her birth canal. You were birthed, which is what a ship does. She was the ship.
Exactly. Yes. You know, you're tying this to all Ken's sayings, right? Everything that he released, the last three. This is exactly what he's talking about. Exactly.
It's the basis for maritime admiralty law. It's
exactly.
all of it. So you birth the side of the ship, you offload the goods inside the ship, and you're the good that was inside your mother's ship. You came on her through her birth canal. And then when you come onto the dock, you now are subject to the law of the land, not the law of the sea. But they don't tell you that. They keep you trapped because they declare you a dead entity, calling you an incorporation, a corporation, which is a corpse, a dead entity on paper.
Yes.
And the way they secure that is they get your mother to sign a birth certificate, which is a contract for you as a piece of property being offloaded into their system. That's how it works. And then you're tracked. And according to what you do, how you conduct your life is to your worth or your value in dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Because and so what they do is they measure the value of your life by the currency. You see? The way that your life is flowing like water in production, what you're producing. So with the amount of work, me at 54 years old, the amount of work that I put in on their stock exchange, okay? You're a commodity. So on their stock exchange, I am probably worth tens of millions of dollars. Okay. Literally. My dead entity is worth that. So anyways, but I said that to say that when you realize this is nothing but an egregore from the egregores.
I know. Whoa. I am so done with this. You know, you do not have the right to trade me like I am stock and like I am cattle, because I am a sovereign entity.
Actually, they do.
Well, until you find the way out, and then they do not.
Right.
But they don't once you find your way out.
Right. That's what I'm describing. They have that right as long as you're nothing but this piece of meat. Okay.
Right.
As long as that's how you see yourself, then they have every right to do that. They don't even have to tell you about it because you're signing off without reading the fine print. That's what contracts are for. Think about the word contract. Starts off with con. They're conning you, and they're turning you into a tract of property. You see?
Oh,
So they
yes.
have a contract, a lying. They're turning into a lie of a piece of property is what a
Yes.
contract is.
Yes.
So I stopped engaging in contracts altogether, and I stopped paying taxes. Now, of course, it's set up, it's drawn out of my check, but that's more than enough for what's fair, okay? Because there's actually illegal fees on there, okay? So I don't give a shit. I'm sorry, but I'm done. I'm done with that. So, and then somebody asked me the other day when they found out that I'm no longer paying to the IRS, which technically doesn't even exist, by the
Right.
way.
No,
It's
I
actually
agree.
defunct now, but that's a whole different. Yeah. And it was illegal. The original document, which was the first form of agreement between the IRS when in its conception, what, in the 60s or whatever that was, or late 50s, whatever it was. That the original document, if you go and look at it, it literally shows that you have the right to decide if you want to pay taxes or not. There's
Right.
no law
It
that
was
says you have to pay
volunteered.
taxes.
It was volunteer.
Volunteer. That's right. That's right. So I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and because they were like, "Wait a minute, you don't pay taxes?" And I said, "Not anymore, at least not that way, you know." And they're like, "Well, aren't you worried?" I said, "No." I said, "You don't understand. I'm on a whole different level now. My life is not anybody else's anymore. It's just not. I'm sorry,
right.
but you don't have a piece of me. You don't own any part of this. Period." And you know what? If they came and I said, they're not going to come and break down my door because they don't have power anymore. We're in a new age. Everything's been flipped. Everything's different now. You're just still participating in a dead entity, something that doesn't actually exist. You think it does, and that's why you're giving energy to it, but it doesn't exist. The word money, it comes from the word moon, because the Zionist Jews, and I don't want to get you in trouble, but the Zionist Jews are the ones that are running the entire monetary system. They're responsible for all the wars. They're responsible for everything, and they're not even Jews. They're not even real Jews, and they worship. Their mother is the moon. That all their whole system is connected to that. So
The only thing I'm going to say before you continue
okay.
on that with that is that the thing is that this whole thing was set up to be a catalyst for us.
Right. Right.
The
No,
whole
absolutely.
entire thing. So when you can see that, when your eyes are open to the game, because that's really it is, it's a game. When your eyes are open to the game and you see the rules of both sides, you've literally become the playbook because you see both sides and you're like, oh, I see how this thing is working. And then as soon as you know the rules and you've become them and you are them as a sefer, as a book, which is stuff that my husband's been sharing and is going to continue to share, you no longer have to play the game. The whole intent was for us to see the game so that we could excuse ourselves from it. It literally, there's the law of the release, and this is why Ken was writing all of the stuff that he was in poetic form, was to say the escape clause, that's what that last one was, the escape clause, is so that you can be released from that system of duality that was sent intentionally to provoke you.
Right.
Intentionally. Right. For your greatest, listen, for your greatest good.
For your greatest experience in God.
Yes, yes. Now, I want to share something with you, and then I'll let you go, because I was looking at the word cabal this morning again, because I was looking at it. So you hear people talk about the cabal, and when you look at the meaning and the definition of cabal, but I saw something very, very different today. Very, very different today. And Ken is working on stuff that I don't even know if we're going to be able to release it because it's too complicated. Like, we can follow it, but I think it's too complicated for people that haven't gone into the language. If you haven't gone into
It's
the
only for
language,
okay, these teachings are only for initiates.
right,
Okay.
exactly. Because if you haven't entered into that place of initiate, there's no way you're going to be able to track it at all. And so Ken and I were talking about that this morning. He's like, how do I bring this forward? And I
Absolutely.
said,
That's
well,
how
you know, and truly, that is not our responsibility. You know, it's not our responsibility to make it available for the general public viewing, because they aren't ready for it yet. If they're still sound asleep, and again, this is not coming from a place of judgment at all. This is the recognition of the game, the players that are on the board, the chess pieces. This is just recognition of what is in this inverted reality. It's not the truth. And so when you recognize this, you're stopping judging. I'm not putting blame on anybody, but I want to bring forward, to connect to exactly what you were saying. This is what I think is so profound. And this is why I have been saying that the languages need to be married again, because when they pulled them apart, they were taking essences out that were in the original form to give you the fullness to see the game. So if you pull one side out and then you just give Hebrew, you're going to get locked into duality, and you're never going to see what really happened. But as soon as you bring and you interlace and weave them back in together, the word chabal has the word love in it.
Of course it does.
In Aramaic, het, bet, and then it ends with the lamed. So the Kabbalah, they love us so much that they chose to be in that position of the Kabbalah to provoke us, to urge us, to prick us, to prod us, because they were given the staff of authority by Father. So when we get in that place of judging and we blame it all on the Kabbalah, they did the greatest, they have done the greatest service to all of us by becoming the enemy, by becoming that negative entity to poke and prod and get you out of your limited sheep capacity that wants to be controlled and manipulated, so you can rise up into your own sovereignty and learn to say no.
Right. Exactly.
And one last thing, because it's het, bet, lamed. This means those who were separated from life, inverted heart. Bet lamed is the word for heart. That means a fearful and anxious heart. So they were sent to provoke that. So on the inside, it's so that you can rise up. And so now I see it completely different. I'm like, oh my God, because I didn't connect the Aramaic back into it. And as soon as I saw it this morning, I mean, I already knew about us Eunice. I already knew that which we've been saying is the negative entities are actually are benevolent beings. I already got that in here. I already got it. But when I saw the letters this morning and saw the word love, the Aramaic word for love, and they got the staff of authority from Father, it changed the whole thing. Completely.
Well, since you brought up the Kabbalah, I have stayed away from it for ever since the idea was introduced to me. And then of course once because there was a group that tried to get me interested in it, in studying it and all that sort of thing. And I knew Spirit somehow was telling me you don't need to get into that, it's not necessary. But there was this darkness there that I couldn't explain because I hadn't actually read it, right? So I can't make an observation of it. So it's not my experience. So And then, of course, then there was a period of time where everybody was raising the flag. Look, Hollywood wears these little ribbons that let you know they're students of the Kabbalah, and uh, and it's this little dark group that they're doing all this. You know, even though they were doing it right there in the open, and they're gathering and all that stuff. They're in L.A. and all that, and uh, so anyways, and I was like, oh, well, then that's bad. That's bad. So I left it alone though, because I knew that I was not to be a part of that. So then I struggled with it. Am I supposed to look into this? And Spirit said, look, why don't you just resolve what it is? Let's neutralize it. And I'm like, okay, but I haven't read it. So how do I do that? And she says, it's simple. The Kabbalah is not what you think it is. At one time, it was simply occultic teachings. The church has vilified the word occult because all it
Yes.
means is hidden knowledge.
Yes.
It's withheld knowledge for a purpose. Okay, so it's occultic teaching, and when you put the occult on it, people, all they hear is cult. That's all they hear, but that's not what it is. And I said, okay, I get that. That's cool. But, and she says, but here's what happened. Over the centuries, Kabbalah turned into I'll just say elders. I'll put it like that. The elders attached commentary of how they interpreted Kabbalah, and so what they did was they flipped it. They turned it from a positive polarity for those who knew the truth, and they turned it into a negative polarity because there's some really bad shit in it. Okay, but it's only there because of what they attacked. The principles, the understanding is core to the way everything actually runs and works by design. So you have to be a really strong dragon to be able to discern the truth of it and not be affected by the shadow. Okay, not attached to the shadow of it, because that is from somebody else's egregores. Okay, so Kabbalah is not evil or good in and of itself. It has components that are attached to those negative energies, but if you know what you're looking at and you're wise enough to see that, to envision how that's actually in play, you're fine. And so you don't
Exactly.
have to.
That middle path, by the way.
So
because
you don't have to worry about going from the.
No, they lay out the tree of life that way. The middle path is called the path of the arrow. It is known as the path of mysticism. Right. It is the fastest route to get us back into the Ein Sof, to the everlasting light, as becoming Adam Qadmon, being aka Christed within light. And it's the only one, yes. if you look at it, it's the only one that pierces into the da'at, the place that they show is there, but not really, because it's only for the mystics that have the divine experiential knowledge, because it's da'at, it's from yada, to know intimately, to go through the door in time. So in other words, those who are in the mystic path get out of time. They enter into the place of experiential knowledge of Oreta. And in that moment, when they pierce that veil of that hidden Sepharot, because Sephar is a book, Sepharot, and it's connected to becomes the Seraphim, the burning ones, they actually enter into timelessness state, and they enter into Oreta.
Yes.
And they are the only ones that do that, because otherwise you're in the negative polarities of the masculine and the feminine energy. And you can do that. You can gain great wisdom by bouncing back and forth between the two different polarities, which is what we've done in our reincarnations. We've been on either side. We've been learning what all of these things were as we came down into the Malkut, into the lower kingdom, and we've had to traverse our way back up. But in this lifetime, there are those who are the mystics that are doing the quick shot, straight through the middle. neutralizing both sides and marrying them into one. That's why it's intimate knowledge.
Exactly.
Intimacy is bringing that masculine and feminine together. So I haven't gone through the teachings. I haven't gone through the teachings because I don't need to, because the letters have shared everything that we needed to know. And when we began experiencing them intimately, it was like I saw a picture of the tree of life, and they had everything laid out, and they had all the Hebrew letters, and they had all the sephirots and everything, that this was all, and the sun and the moon and everything. And it was like intuitively, I already knew what they were saying without going to their teachings, because again, like you said, man's twist. So when you innocently, through purity and innocence, begin looking at these things, it's going to automatically, because the supportive energies are here now, it's going to put you on the path of the arrow. And it's going to allow you to neutralize and go through that middle path and bringing them together.
That's right. Yeah, because when you've got it set in your mind, which is how we're programmed, that the strongest pull of duality is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which actually was to your benefit.
Exactly.
Okay, when you go into the Nag Hamadi, in the Nag Hamadi, Lila shows up. Okay, she's called differently there, but it's Lila, and she shows up, and she's the one that becomes Eve. But what she does is she becomes the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. She becomes one with it, and it becomes the very thing that Eve is supposed to have that conversation with, to converse with, so that she can receive of the mind's eye opening, so she can see that this God is not her God. Okay, because Adam is asleep.
Exactly. Okay? He was never woke up. Mankind was never woke up. And here's life, Chaya or Chava, pulled out, that is looking at this. Yes, yes, exactly. Yes. And Lillith was the seraphic messenger. She was already a burning one, and she came to bring this information to Chava, the mother of all living, to rouse, awake Adam, which is the awakening process. So those who say that they're awoke, if you're awakening, then that's when you're seeing the system of duality for what it is. All of a sudden you realize you're playing a game, and you begin to see both sides, and you think you have to choose a side. That's part of the awakening process. And it has to be done. It has to be done. There's no other way around it. You have to go through that stage. And then then it allows you to continue, because then you see that neither side can win. They're not meant to win. They're meant to provoke you. Too much light, the dark increases. Too much dark, the light increases. And then you go back and forth. You go, this is never going to be resolved. Exactly. Because you have to neutralize both of them, and you realize that the game has been played so it can spit you out. Right. That hot and cold thing, that I'd rather you be hot and cold, because in lukewarm, I will spit you out. Guess what that word is? It's salik. It is salik, and salik or salak means to ascend.
Really?
So seriously? when you become lukewarm, when it says I will vomit you out, that word vomit also means to ascend and to be sent out. Because the lukewarm have neutralized the hot and the cold. Who are the hot? The hot are the ones that have been illuminated with Mother's light. The cold are the ones that are operating in the shadows, full of ego, that are provoking those because they need to be neutralized. And so you've got the hot and the cold, you're playing the game, and they wrote it so that you would choose a side. Right. Oh, I'm the hot one. No, I'm the cold one. And it says, I will spew you out. We changed that. I'm owning it. We changed that in hiding the truth, because it really means that you are the ones that are ascending out of the game. You are choosing to not be hot or cold. You are lukewarm. It's so good. It's Lila. It's Lila and Hillel coming together, the light and the dark.
So God.
It is so God. It's so good. Champagne, everyone. Champagne. Let's have a toast.